please watch the entire video all the way through. That is such a support. Like, comment, and subscribe, because without you, there's no me. Peace and blessings, family. Sister Ajali. At the very outset, I express my deep sympathy, condolences, commiseration for our family, both male and female, who have been removed from this existence too early, way too early. And also my condolences to everyone who comes to harm in an unjust manner, even if it's not spontaneously awful. Sometimes the greatest crimes are what the CIA outlines in its manual on soft kill wars, how to wage them so you can destroy whole populations and they don't know. And that's why I come here, because there's a whole genocide going on. And when you have a people capable of doing something so insidiously calculated, so that they have laws that demand anyone who is considered a expert, a credentialed authority on man-made radiation, if they reveal too much, they can be taken out. And I remember a Iranian nuclear physicist who was assassinated very coldly, very brutally. There was no sympathy. And so when I ponder the swirlers and their non-existent future, I think of the brutality of our oppressor and how they can ignore it year after year. I'm going to just run through a couple bunches of articles, but I'll try to make this not too long. If it is, I still encourage you, entreat you to watch the whole thing. That's such a powerful encouragement if you find my content helpful, and I make sure to make it helpful. So that said, tens of thousands of Black women vanish each year. This website tells their story. I thank this website for doing this. These labors are often unheralded, but they are absolutely critical to us making a saner reality, as out of just comprehension insane as what's happening these days, where you could find books in children's school libraries encouraging homosexuality and sexual acts between grown-ups and then children, and then it's disgusting. Seeing how they're making everything more increasingly insane. Trust and believe, it's not so that our enemy can then snap out of it and look like he's the real Superman of the planet. No, chaos is what they delight in. It's what they excel in creating and profiting therefrom. So when you have stories like this, and they just get increasingly worse, and you have us as a captured nation, a war, you have just a mindlessness that will give rise to excuses for this sort of thing, such as, well, this is mostly Black men who are doing this. And statistically, that is possible, but at the same time, I want you to know it ain't gonna get better. It ain't gonna get better from ignoring when the harm is coming from white men. And white women. There's the one who killed the African dude who she was just covered and saturated in his blood, and that's not the only story out there. It's a different, men and women are different. So when you have bedbugs who inevitably come to friction with their Becky, it's going to express itself differently. Oftentimes the bedbug will kill the Becky, and because he gets tired of having his hope for masculinity, that's why he got with Becky in the first place. He was trying to prove his superiority. Oftentimes they'll kill the Becky because they just get tired of being belittled, and because that is what's required. They're bowing down not to Becky but to her daddy. It's a homosexual act, as Dr. Laila Africa very correctly assessed. And so I don't go over them as much. I'm not even going over the female swirlers that much, but I mean both of them. When I say swirlers, I mean both of them. And so here's our brother Water Sniper's channel, where he just is highlighting one just pitiful murder of these black women after another. Yeah, I wish he would highlight more of what goes on with the bedbugs, but like I said, it's a different type of category. And I appreciate what the brother does put out there. So you don't ever see these swirlers unless it's, like when they did allow our pro-black channels to sort of naturally rise up. We were a united, credible force against these swirling lunatics out here. So that every now and then they had to confess, okay, not all white men are wonderful, but then they quickly get back to trashing black men just ad nauseum, as if that's the only thing they can do. And Cynthia G just recently came out and admitted she's not up here to solve the problems between black men and black women, and our problem is the white man and white woman, okay? Because other than that, we heal up. Eventually, we heal up. Is it going to be perfect? There's never been an epoch in history where perfection was an expectation. You just do the best you can. And if you don't have interlopers infesting your community with a soft kill agenda, you have a much better chance. And so I want to highlight, because people will swear, oh no, it's mostly the black men who would be doing that. Let's go over another grouping of people who are just not powerful enough to stop a carnage happening to them. Not anywhere near as significant as tens of thousands of black women going missing, but at the same time, everybody is precious to their loved ones. It's a 100% loss. So these are just some of the faces of Indigenous women who go missing every single year. As I say, it's not tens of thousands each year, but every loss for that society is a 100% fail. Now, that said, the going narrative is that, the indigenous people, we gotta follow them. They're so powerful. And that is a bold-faced lie. Because these women, they get no justice for what often is just the murder, the violent abuse of them. And again, people could say because these indigenous populations do have a lot of problems, from domestic abuse to incest to murder, that people can conclude, well, then it's got to be their indigenous mates who are doing this to them. Well, let's keep on looking. They've started different organizations, and this one is Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women. Across the United States and Canada, Native women and girls are being taken or murdered at an unrelenting rate. I appreciate them for defending theirs. I believe in true diversity, not fake diversity. where you just like the swirlers, inevitably you are going to have a non-existent future. I believe the beauty of every unique tribe on this planet has a right to sanely defend its just justified reason for being here on the planet, as long as they're not harming other tribes of people and they're not doing something really absolutely heinous. But still, that's their damn business. They're going to have to figure out how to defend themselves within themselves, just like you and I have to do as black men and black women, one to the other. That's why you have councils of elders who can intervene in a situation that's gotten out of hand, right? Not some strangers from a whole different region of the planet who have nothing but hate for us. They're not supposed to be adjudicating our issues, right? And so kudos to them for starting all of this. And crisis of missing and murdered Indigenous women. They even have done their own history so that they are stating Sacagawea and Pocahontas were sex trafficking victims. And they go in quite extensively explaining all these things that wind up being absorbed into mainstream white society as their legends. Often it was because they were being abducted, abused, and these women were doing their best to survive in whatever method that they could. All right? When it comes to our swirlers, we've been brainwashed, gaslit directly, hand on hand. No, gee, go on over to your own little territory over there and we'll just ignore you. All right? Make sure that we take all the best land and leave you with the crap. With us, they never leave us alone. And they started, the entire school system was started so they could keep a close eye on what was going into our brains and separate us from our mothers and fathers. Because before all of that intervention, black families were pretty much intact, right? With mom and dad. It was very few who went out to the juke joint in order to, hang out and do partying. Now, every single movie that they do showing that era, you think everybody was going to the juke joint, and that's not true. That's not true. Most people were going to the church, and they meant it. Okay? Now, I'm not saying whether the church was good or not. Obviously, it wasn't. It was white people's Christianity. But I'm just saying, we understood the importance of family. When our family members were abducted from us off the plantation, we never forgot. We would, if we had a breath in us to get away and find our relations, we would travel states and states in order to locate a second cousin. We understood family. Okay? This era where they've weaponized everything is where they are divorcing us of the sanity of keeping it black, okay? And so here you have Associated Press. And I noticed as I was reading these articles that they just have these vague reasons why these Native women are missing. Talk about gaslighting and brainwashing, where just like with us, I was talking with my king about, I don't know if it's Captain, but John Horse, who was a character in my first novel, This Black, and they made it against the law to even mention his existence because he was so powerful. He was so powerful. He won. He won against the entire United States Army. Okay? It freed not only him, but all his brethren and the women and the children. Daggone right, they don't want that taught, okay? So the gaslighting is real. They just change the name of it every single generation. So this right here, I said, this can't be true. It's sort of like, why? Why are Native women vanishing? And then they lay the blame on, it must be the Native men. But I know because I've heard these reports before from people who were getting the information from the Indigenous women that can't be the case. And when I found this article here and went on down, scrolled down, I got to this paragraph that says, Land grabbing for economic or political reasons threatens many indigenous communities around the world. In many cases, this weakens their solidarity, instrumental in ensuring the well-being of community members, leaving women and girls more vulnerable. You think that's accidental? When they got a whole book, Soft Kill Wars, written by the CIA on how to take over whole populations. They've been practicing this stuff since they first got out the caves and figured out that, oh, wow, we could rub two sticks together and make a fire. We don't have to wait for the lightning bolt to happen. Okay? So, 76% of people living on tribal land and 96% of perpetrators of sexual violence against indigenous women in the U.S., for example, are of non-native identity. So what's happening is these industries will start up in a less populated region, which is usually where they're going to have native territories. And it's a bunch of white men out there, horny, not restricted in their movements any way, shape, or form, even though they could be right next to tribal land. And they know they could just go right on in there and do whatever they want, and nobody gonna say a damn thing to them. So you swallows, you're saying nothing now when you're the ones who are the most isolated in the middle of snow country, right? Because here, this is one of my favorite channels, Too Not Checky. Alarming true story of how Africans suffer rampant sexual abuse from aid agencies. Who do you think is heading them daggone aid agencies? They're aiding themselves, all these white people. Hey? And they go on in there like it's a smorgasbord. Y'all think it's bad right now? Whoo! It's gonna get worse, because the only healing is not coming from your enemy. Not coming from people who just allowed all Fukushima food into the United States and didn't say a damn word to you, but just setting up one ridiculous distraction after another so you don't pay attention to your sister here, who's the only person who wrote cures for you. Okay? It's that simple, because these things, they hide them. They hid John Horse. They hide the fact that white man is not the God of the universe, right? Snap out of it if you can. I don't really care about you. I don't have much hope for you because you are demonically possessed. But I mean in a scientific, methodical, generational manner, so that everything that I've just said right now, it just went over, swirling you like water over a corpse, okay? And I don't wish that for you. But I'm just saying, some people are out before they're out. Whew, I love you. Go buy all these books on 25,000yearcycle.net at a magnificent discounted rate. Because I don't know who you gonna get who's gonna be this ridiculously dedicated, who then should be able to get up the capital to fund a lab to test our food and then wouldn't do it. What? That ain't happening. So your best, my best, all of our best chance is to protect the inner sanctum of our own beautiful Black nation. Straight Black family, pride, and we are okay forever. Peace and blessings.